Okay, so this is a video that is just going to be on notation since there's a lot of you guys that are struggling with this and I'm getting a lot of questions, and I don't think I was very clear in the beginning about notation. Okay, so I have here just written out 6 different types of inequalities, so answers that you might come to while you're doing your homework, and then the last 2 are some compound inequalities. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to write them in different types of notation, because the foldable videos that I've done and the other teacher that you've seen has done, they have been in set builder notation, but your homework has been in interval notation, and I want you to be comfortable with both of those. Okay, so let's take a look at r is greater than or equal to 1. So this is your inequality. So this is usually what the form of your answer is going to come in. Okay, so if we look at let's look at set builder notation first. Okay, so if this is your solution, set builder notation has the curly brackets. We write the variable, so r here, and then a vertical bar that says all values of r such that, and then you just write the inequality in here. R is greater than or equal to 1. So the way that you read this is all values of r such that r is greater than or equal to 1. That's set builder notation. Now let's look at interval notation. Okay, and this is when you have a lower bound and an upper bound separated by a comma, and then you either have parentheses or brackets on the outside. Okay, so let's take a look at here. R is greater than 1, so our lower bound here, R can be any number that's equal to 1 or bigger than. So the smallest number we can have is going to be 1. Okay, and the largest number we have, well, we can go as big as we want forever. Okay, so the way that we represent that is by using positive infinity. Okay, and then we use parentheses for numbers that are not included. Okay, and we use brackets for numbers that are included. So since we have this equal to bar underneath our inequality symbol, that means that r can be equal to 1, and 1 is included in the solution set. So we'll put a bracket over 1, and because infinity is not a number, it just represents the direction that we're going, we can't technically include infinity, because we can never say, well, the number r is equal to infinity, because that's not a number. So we'll always use parentheses with infinity. Okay, so there's your set builder notation, interval notation for that one. Let's look at v is less than 6. So this again is our inequality. Okay, set builder notation. We have an open curvy bracket, our variable, which is v, all values of v such that v is less than 6. So we're just going to put in our inequality into the second half there. And that is set builder notation. Okay, and then if we look at interval notation, we look for a lower bound. So v can be any number that's less than 6. So we're going forever in the negative direction. The way that we represent that is by saying our lower bound is negative infinity. So we're going to go forever in the negative direction. Our upper bound is going to be 6, because we cannot be greater than 6. We're going to use parentheses with our negative infinity, because we always use parentheses with infinity. And because there is no equal to bar underneath our inequality here, that means we cannot equal 6, but we can go all the way up to 6. So we can go up to 5.9999999, but not included 6. So the way that we show that is we say everything up to 6, but not including it, we'll use a parentheses there. So there's set builder notation and interval notation. Let's look at if you get down to an inequality that looks like this. There are no variables here. Inequality. There are no variables here, so we don't have something that says, oh, x or whatever variable is less than or equal to something else. But what we do have here is a statement, okay? And if we have no variables, we need to assess whether the statement is true or not. So is -4 less than or equal to -3? And that is a true statement, okay? So that means that whatever values we put in for x or whatever your variable is, that means that we're always going to get down to this statement because they're always going to cancel out, and the statement will always be true. It doesn't matter what x is, we're always going to get a true statement. So in words, we can say all real numbers. Okay, in set builder notation, we start the same way. So let's say our variable was x, all values of x, such that, and the way that we show all real numbers in set builder notation is we say that x is an element of the real number set. Okay, so this little e thing, it just means is an element of, and then the real number set. So that is how we show all real numbers in set builder notation. In interval notation, not much changes. Interval notation. So we're still going to have a lower bound, which if we have, if it's all real numbers, our lower bound is going to go into the negative and the positive direction forever. So our lower bound is going to be -infinity, our upper bound is going to be infinity. Always use parentheses with these. So that is how we write that in interval notation. Okay, and let's look at this inequality here. So we say we solve another inequality and our x's cancel out and we're left with this statement. 6 is less than 0, which is not a true statement, right? That means that we have here no solutions. Okay, so there are no values of x that we can ever put in that will make this inequality true because they cancel out and it comes down to 6 is less than 0, which is not true. Okay, so in set builder notation, the way we represent that is we start the same way, say our variable is x again. We say x is an element of the empty set. Okay, so that means there are no values of x that will ever make this true. And in interval notation, I don't believe there is a way to represent this in interval notation. So if you're ever asked to put in interval notation, you can just write no solutions. Okay, so those are 2 standard inequalities and then 2 special cases where there's either all real numbers or no solutions. Let's look at compound inequalities. Let's start with this or here. So we have this x is less than or equal to 1 or x is greater than 4. So this is our inequality. Okay, in set builder, notation, we would write this as all values of x such that, let's see, x is less than 1 or, yeah, so we're just going to write these as x is less than or equal to 1 or x is greater than 4. Because we can't combine these either way. Your graph is going to look like 1 and 4. Like that. So we have to just write it as or. There's not going to be any overlapping in this one. Okay? In interval notation, since there are 2 different inequalities here that can't be combined or overlapped at all, the way that we write this is we write this in 2 different intervals. Okay, so we'll start with the first one. X is less than or equal to 1, so that means our lower bound is -infinity, and we come all the way up to 1. We have a bracket over 1 because it's included, and then a parentheses over -infinity. And then we'll write out the other one. X is greater than 4, so our lower bound is 4. We go to +infinity, and we have both parentheses over this one because neither are included. And then we put in here this union symbol, okay? So we're saying x can be any of these numbers, or it can be any of these numbers, okay? So that is interval notation for this type of OR inequality. And let's look at this AND inequality here. So x is greater than or equal to 4 but less than 8. Okay, so this is our inequality. Okay, if we write this in set builder notation, then we'll have an open bracket, x, all values of x such that, and then we'll just write the inequality in here. Okay, then in interval notation, we're going to look at the lower bound. So x is greater than or equal to 4, so it can't be less than 4. So 4 is going to be our lower bound. And it's less than 8, so it can't be bigger than 8. So 8 is going to be our upper bound. We're going to have a bracket over 4 because it is included, and a parentheses over 8 because it's not included. And that is interval notation for this type of AND inequality. So I think we've covered most situations here. Make sure that you're paying attention to what type of notation you're being asked to give the answer in. You have 3 options here. So yeah, and just a quick note on the formative, for this interval notation, you can just type in a U here, like the letter U, because they don't have union symbols on the keyboard. But everything else, you should be good to go. If you have to type in no solutions, type in no solutions. There shouldn't ever be a time where you're typing in all real numbers because there is an interval notation for that type of solution. All right, let me know if you have any questions.